And welcome along to Hive Live ahead of today's 2 p.m. kickoff. Watford take on Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The Hornets are looking to win their second league game of the new season following their opening day victory over Aston Villa at Vicarage Road and come into this afternoon's fixture full of confidence after Tuesday night's Carabao Cup victory over Crystal Palace. Tottenham are sure to provide a stern test of Watford's Premier League credentials this afternoon, having made the perfect start that's seen them record back-to-back victories over both Manchester City and Wolves. We are live for the next 45 minutes, bringing you all of your Watford focus build-up as we count down to kick-off. It's Spurs against Watford on your matchday home. Welcome once again to Hive Live. Welcome once again to Hive Live. It's free to view for all Watford fans for the next 45 minutes or so. Without further ado, we'll get the elephants out of the room. I'm holding the fort today, but fear not, Emma will be back following the international break for the game against Wolves. So, coming up on today's show ahead of kickoff, we'll be looking ahead to your Watford focus build-up ahead of this afternoon's 2 p.m. start at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We'll be bringing you news of the side that head coach Xisco Munoz has selected for this afternoon. And we'll be having a detailed look at today's opponents, Tottenham Hotspur. We'll have a Hive Live exclusive when we hear from our new signing, Moussa Sissoko, who signed for the Hornets just 48 hours ago. And so there's lots to get through in the next 45 minutes. So let's get things started by introducing a special guest, a Watford Hall of Famer no less, Tommy Mooney.
Good morning.
Tommy, well, good afternoon now.
Good afternoon now, you're right. We've been here so long.
We have been here a while, and look, the Premier League is about squad rotation, isn't it? I think just one change is enough for today. So I'm pleased to have you alongside us as a regular face for our followers to see and build up to today's game. And the Premier League, look, this is what it's all about. We said Tottenham's going to be a stern test for the Hornets, but these are the games you want to be part of, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great for the supporters going to see the new stadium as well at Tottenham. So I'm sure they'll have a great day up until kick-off, and then it's up to the team to perform and hopefully get the result and keep them cheering all the way through.
When you look at Spurs, they've had their own changes, obviously, in the off-season, not least with the head coaching position. What do you see from them?
I think we know from the way that he coached at Wolverhampton Wanderers that, you know, he likes to be organised, which is perhaps something that Tottenham haven't had so much of recent times. So I think they'll be organised, but they've got flair players. They've got top players, and keeping Kane until whether it's the next window or the window after is a massive plus for them. So I think the enthusiasm will be back for Tottenham supporters, and you know, with the names on the team sheet that they have, we know it's going to be a tough game.
Well, we should get team news for both sides in around 25 minutes or so, and we'll take a more detailed look at the Tottenham team around about then. But as for Watford, it's been a strong start to life in the Premier League. Played 2 games, won 1, lost 1 last week, but then bounced back with albeit a changed team in the Carabao Cup, but as we see here, an important win.
Yeah, I think any home game you want to win, and it was really strong performance. I actually enjoyed the game. It was 2 strong teams. Palace don't have perhaps as strong a squad as us, but they have a really strong starting 11. I think there was only 1 or 2 changes in their starting 11 from the Premier League game, where we obviously made more changes. But some of the movement and some of the opportunities were really strong. And I think you can only gain confidence from playing like this, albeit in the cup. But Fletcher to get his goal on the back post, tracking that back post for an easy tap in, he'd be delighted to get off the mark and on the score sheet.
How important is that for Ashley Fletcher to get that first goal?
Huge, because any striker going to a new club, there's pressure to score goals. If you come as a goal scorer, you've got to score goals. And it's the same for if you've been at the club for 2 or 3 years or more. You want to get off the mark as a striker, because you can't get the 10th one until you get your first one. It's as simple as that. So he'd be delighted to get off the mark, and I'm sure King will be exactly the same, and the other goal scorers in the team. You know, we've seen Sarr get off the mark, Dennis get off the mark in the first game, which obviously eases the tension and the nerves, but they'll want more, and it'll be a tough game today. There won't be as many chances as we had in the Villa game, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, and as we touched upon there as well, a changed side for that Carabao Cup fixture, but being able to get a win, any win on the back of the reversal at Brighton, that's important so early in the season, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. There were two very contrasting performances. We were excellent at home against Aston Villa, and if we're honest, the performance was poor at Brighton. From the very first whistle, they took the game to us, where it had been the opposite the week before against Aston Villa. So we need to get on the front foot, but like we've already said, Tottenham are a strong team. And they'll be wanting to get at us. So it's the way we start the game for me. It's always really, really important, particularly when you go away from home. I think the organisation in the Crystal Palace game, which out of possession, it turned into a 4-5-1, in possession, the 4-3-3. It was the transition of the shape worked really well. And I think you can take positives from that. Albeit, like I say, a cup game, you can take that into a big game today at Spurs.
And looking at the bigger picture as well, when you talk about the transition in formation, you go on the road to somewhere like Tottenham. How important is it to be able to do that and do it comfortably, because they're going to be tested?
They will be tested, and it's the organisation on the training field. You could see they've worked on that, and I think it was perhaps more evident in the Palace game because Palace had a fair amount of possession. In the Villa game, it was almost like we were just attacking constantly and then dealing with it when they had the ball against, if we're honest, a poor Villa performance. But against Palace, I thought they brought the game to us. So it looked like the work that on the training ground is paying off. We created chances. Our chance to goal ratio has got to improve, but that will do the more football that we play. And I think, you know, with King in the 9 slot, he's not perhaps comfortable playing in the middle of the pitch on his own, but he's got to learn that role, and he'll get help from certainly Sarr on the right hand side, and whoever plays on the left hand side will hopefully get their fair share of goals too.
Yeah, and obviously Tuesday night was a good chance for Xisco to have a look at the wider squad as well, and have been pleased with the performance and to be able to secure passage through to the third round of the Carabao Cup. Okay, let's turn our attention to Tottenham, because they've had their own changes to deal with this off-season as well. Of course, we all know that Jose Mourinho was relieved of his responsibilities at the back end of last season. So his replacement, Nuno Espirito Santo, came in, having called it a day with Wolves, a successful spell with Wolves. What does he bring to Tottenham?
I think he brings a fresh energy. Certainly, when any manager goes into a new club, and particularly it's a great move for him to go from Wolves, which I know, I live in the Midlands. They think that Wolves is the biggest club in the country. He'll know now going to Tottenham that it's certainly not like that. He's at one of the top 6 clubs in the country. Perhaps the performances on the pitch haven't suggested that, and that's why he's got an opportunity to go in there. But certainly with the stadium and the infrastructure that they have, probably the best training ground in the country for my money at Spurs. So everything's there for success. He's just got to get the team right on the pitch. And
the two up front, obviously we've heard in the last week, Harry Kane is staying at Tottenham now. That partnership with Heung-min Son, as we're seeing here, that's lethal on their day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Both on their day, they could both be the best striker in the Premier League, and we've seen Kane's record, which never ever lies. His assists and his goals scored is second to none.
And as we're seeing here, Watford know all about Son.
Yeah, he's a top player wherever he plays. If he plays at the top of the pitch or he's played wider, he always seems to be one of those players that gets a chance, and he invariably takes them. Very underrated player, I think, coming into Spurs, but now everybody knows who he is, and he's one of Europe's, formidable strikers.
No one would say that Harry Kane's the old-fashioned target man, if you like, but it is noticeable when he's on the pitch alongside Son. Son feeds off anything that he can flick on, just lay off, and that's the problem, isn't it, as a defender, tracking those runs?
I think that's the important part for an old-school number 9. Kane holds the middle of the pitch, so Son knows that he can get in between the full-backs and the centre-halves and create that space. And the amount of goals that Son's created, not just for Kane but for other players in the team, is incredible because he's so confident in possession of the ball, left foot and right foot. He really doesn't mind. He's just happy in possession of the ball wherever it is. So he creates an awful lot of opportunities. Yes, Kane gets all of the headlines for scoring the goals, but I think both of them seem to gel extremely well.
No doubt Watford will be very pleased if Harry Kane started on the bench again today as he did last week. What is your feeling over that now that it appears to have been put to bed? Does he go straight back into the starting 11, or do you think Nuno will try and ease him into their team?
For me, he goes straight back in. You've got to have a goal scorer in your team, and you know, we're talking about him being worth £150 million. That's not something on the bench for me. You put him in your team. From a Watford point of view, I hope he's on the bench, and I hope he stays on the bench. But you know, I think
all the Watford defenders do as well, quite frankly.
100%, absolutely. No, he's one of the best centre forwards or strikers in Europe, if not the world. So, you know, if he's on the bench, that's a benefit for Watford.
And of course, expectations around Tottenham are high. It's only several years ago they were in the Champions League final. That's where they want to go, and that ultimately is what prompted the change at the head coach position. Just looking at Nuno Espirito Santo's record with 2 games there for Tottenham, obviously, but the rest with Wolves. It's good. Is it good enough for what Tottenham want to do and where they want to be?
I think it's a strange one that it comes about that way. There's not too many times the Wolverhampton Wanderers manager goes to Spurs. So yeah, he's almost he's the flavour of the month, if you like, because of the success he had with Wolves. I think it's underestimated the amount of money that they spent at Wolves. He'll have more funds at Spurs, I'm sure. But they spent an awful lot of money at Wolves to get that team and create that bond between him and his players. A lot of Portuguese players at Wolves that he brought in, he was comfortable with. So it's a big challenge for him. It was a big challenge for Mourinho, and he's managed some of the biggest clubs in the world. So yeah, I think it'll be difficult for him to appease all of the supporters quickly. And let's hope he doesn't today, and Watford get a comfortable 3 points.
Well, he's suffered 39 defeats as a Premier League manager to date. If Watford can make it 40, we'll certainly all be very happy. Of course, this is the last game for Watford before the international break. No Premier League football next week. There is women's football, though, here at Vicarage Road, when Liverpool are the visitors. That's on Saturday, the 4th of September. And also, if you want to get down to the club store or go online, you can buy the third kit that's now out as well for Watford. That's on sale. Worth noting that coming back to today's game, we do have commentary available via the club website from 2 o'clock with John Marks, and Tommy Hoban will be his special guest this afternoon. And a reminder that, of course, stay tuned to the club's official YouTube channel for Hive Live Extra later on this afternoon. That'll be the first place you'll be able to see highlights from today's game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So, looking ahead to our 2 p.m. kickoff, let's catch up with the head coach, Xisco Munoz, and get his thoughts ahead of the Tottenham Hotspur match.
Let's move on to Tottenham on the weekend. A different challenge. You said at the start of the season that clean sheets were going to be crucial for Watford. You had your first one in midweek against Crystal Palace, but how much of a challenge is Tottenham in that regards, considering a certain Harry Kane has committed to staying at the club? Does it make your job a little more difficult?
We know about the contest is important. Always when I say something about the clean sheets, it's important to know about the contest and the Premier League. When you have in front the best strikers in the world, it's normal to understand what is the contest and what we need to understand about the try to give the clean sheets. We know what we have, which team we have in front next game, how they are the strongest, how the capacity they have, and we know what we need to do. You know, we need to make to the most of our situation. We need to play like team. We need to stay stronger. We need to try to give all the best in all the situation and stay in alert in 100% in all the situations, you know, because in front we have very good players. We try, but I think if our team play with high intensity, stay narrow, have a good things in defense, after we sure we have our chance, and I think we have a amazing goal for the next game.
So the thoughts of Xisco there ahead of this afternoon's matchup, talking about having to play with a high intensity there, Tommy, but no getting away from it. This season, keeping it tight at the back, keeping clean sheets. It's going to be crucial, isn't it, if Watford are to stay in the Premier League?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the contrast to the Premier League and the Championship. Last season we had the lion's share of possession, created 10 chances a game. You don't get that in the Premier League. You've got to be clinical in front of goal and keep those clean sheets, because it's going to be absolutely vital. But even more difficult because the strikers in the Premier League are the best in the world. So, yeah, it's a tough ask, but he believes in the unity of the camp. And if he can recreate that unity that we had last season and add that to the work rate that he talks about, I think it's a huge part of it, keeping that dressing room tight and believing that they have enough in that dressing room to stay in the division.
And you said, referring to last week's game, that obviously they need to have that high intensity. It started badly with that early goal. Aston Villa, end-to-end, chances galore, score 3, win a 5-goal thriller. It's not always going to be like that in the Premier League, and you certainly can't afford to start in the manner they did. I know somebody put it to him after the game that perhaps it was a slow start, wasn't as quick as he might have liked, and he rode back from that suggestion a little bit. But certainly going to Tottenham this afternoon, they're going to have to come out of the blocks firing.
No, it was a contrasting performance from the week before, because we had the enthusiasm and the euphoria of the supporters coming back to Vicarage Road. Brighton had that at the Amex last week, and from the very first kickoff, we made a mistake with kickoff last week, and Brighton had chances to score before they actually did. So it was a slow start, and then you're on the back foot. And in the Premier League, when you're on the back foot, it's a tough place to be in. So yes, we have to respect that we're away from home, because there is a contrast in the way that you play, whether it be home or away. So you do have to, he talks about being narrow and that shape that I referenced in the Crystal Palace game that looked very strong. So that's going to be vital at times today, because Tottenham will have most of the possession, but that makes it even more important that in the opposite 18-yard box we have to be clinical, because we won't be getting 5 and 6 chances today. It might be 2 and 3, and we need to take 1 or 2 of those.
Absolutely, we do. Well, we all know about the firepower within the Tottenham Hotspur ranks, and for whoever starts in defence for Watford this afternoon, it's going to be a busy afternoon. So a little bit earlier this week, we caught up with Christian Kabasele.
You've got Tottenham up next. What can we expect from that game?
Oh, you know, a lot of people say that when you go to Tottenham for a team like Watford, it's difficult to win. So I think we don't have the pressure, but we will compete. We want to win every single game, even if it's at Tottenham and Man City or any other team from the Big Six. So it's a kind of a free shot for us. So let's play our game and see if Tottenham can win this game. For sure, it will not be easy for them. We will not make them the game easy. So. Yeah, there is a game to be played, and we will be ready for the challenge.
Tottenham won their last 2 Premier League games. What strengths do you think they'll bring to you?
I think it's a very good side, especially now they welcome back Harry Kane. So you know, they are well organized. They didn't concede from the first 2 games, and after with Harry Kane in the team, they can score at any moment. So. Yeah, it's quite a complete squad, complete team. So the danger can come from everywhere. It's up to us to be well organized, and as I said, try to exploit maybe the mistakes that they can do.
Of course, it was a rough season injury-wise for Christian Kabasele last season, but he started both games this time around. What have you made of his performances so far?
I think his pace has been vital at the back. For the most part last season it was Sierralta and Troost-Ekong. Obviously Cathcart and Kabasele have got far more experience of the Premier League than the other two. So there's contrast in the styles of the centre-half options that we've got. But I think essentially his pace is what sets him apart from perhaps the other 3. So, you know, he was exceptional in the Aston Villa game. A couple of last-ditch tackles saved opportunities for Villa to score, but it was tough for him last week at Brighton because it was wave after wave of attack. So, you know, whichever combination that Xisco chooses, it has to be right, certainly against 2 of the best strikers in Europe.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll become as a surprise to anybody that you'd expect Tottenham to have the majority of possession today. So defensively, What's going to be the key for this Watford side to keep Tottenham at bay?
Again, like Xisco mentioned, it's the unity in the organisation and also the patience, because we are going to be out of possession and we're going to be sat in our shape for vast amounts of time today. So I think that's going to be the key to it. And then when we do return possession, we have to keep the ball. It's as simple as that. We don't necessarily have to go forward with it, but we need to keep the ball. And like I've referenced earlier on, if we get a chance, you've got to take it today.
OK, well, Tottenham have been at the heart of the biggest will he or won't he saga of the summer transfer window so far. No, I'm not talking about Harry Kane and his decision to stay at Spurs. I'm talking, of course, about Moussa Sissoko. We finally heard here at Watford on Friday confirmation of what we've been waiting for. He has signed a 2-year deal to join the Hornets, and we have a Hive Live exclusive now with the newest boy at Watford.
Welcome to Watford, Moussa. What does it mean to you to be here?
Thank you very much. What does that mean for me? I feel very proud and happy to be here. They did everything to convince me to sign here, and yeah, so we had a long discussion together, and I think everything was good. So we had a good chat, and that's why I decided to join this club.
How pleased are you to be reuniting with your former Tottenham teammate Danny Rose?
Yeah, I'm very happy and pleased to be with him again. He's a very good friend, and we had a lot of years together in Tottenham. So to meet him again at Watford, so yeah, I could not ask better teammate than that. So it will help me to settle down with the team, with all the squad, and hopefully we're gonna have some great years all together.
Did you speak to Danny at all before coming here?
Yeah, I spoke with him a little bit, so I was asking him some things about Watford. So he told me a lot of positive things, and that has helped me to make the choice to sign for Watford.
Of course, you're good friends with Etienne Capoue as well, who you played with at Toulouse in France. How close are you with Etienne?
Yeah, I know very well Etienne because we were at the academy together in France. Then we played professional in Toulouse. So yeah, we were very close. Then after, in football, everyone go away, and he had his family, so it was difficult to see him. But sometime we're trying to have some news, and yeah, so he's a good friend of mine. So we had some great years together. Now he's in Spain, so I can see he's enjoying his football there, and I'm very happy for him. So I'm going to try to do the same with Watford.
You played more than 200 times for Tottenham. What are your favourite memories from your 5 years there?
Yeah, I played a lot of games, and I had a lot of good memory there. And if I have to remember one game, I would say maybe the semi-final of the Champions League. It was an amazing game, and I think everyone remember of that day. So this will be the best game in my memory.
How proud were you to be named in the Champions League squad of the season during that run to the final 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was amazing because when you're a kid, what I wanted is to be professional, try to play the best competition in the world, and to play the Champions League and live my dream was something special for me, and to be part of this team was incredible, and I tried to enjoy all the time I was on the pitch, and it will be something I will never forget.
And everybody at Watford's hoping that Moussa Sissoko's time here is something they'll never forget either. Certainly Xisco has opted for experience in some of the moves he's made in this transfer window, but in Moussa Sissoko, he's certainly made the highest profile of those, hasn't he?
Yeah, certainly. He's probably the most experienced Premier League player in the squad right now. So I think it's a good move. There's a very little disruption for the player. So in theory, he should hit the ground running. The training grounds are not far apart. It's not like he has to uproot the family and move around the country. So I think that could be key to it for us seeing the best of Sissoko as soon as possible. He's one that's certainly had success internationally, And like we say, at Newcastle, he was very successful, enough for Tottenham to buy him and spend a lot of money on him. So I think it's one of those, it strengthens that area of the pitch, although we've brought in 4 or 5 central midfielders. So, I think developing and building that squad, it's certainly a good addition.
Yeah, and over 200 appearances as well in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt. Let's look at some of his career stats. Toulouse, Newcastle United and Tottenham, 428 appearances in total, 37 goals. Is that surprising, just in the sense that he is a midfielder that likes to get into the box? Would you expect that total to be higher?
I think you would. You'd be more than happy if your midfielders are getting 10, 12 goals a season. I think that's probably the parameters that we usually work to for midfielders. But yeah, maybe finishing is not his strongest suit. So I think they'd be more influential in holding around the middle of the pitch and organising players around him. But certainly when he's in shooting distance of the goal, he can hit the target and hopefully make it into the 18-yard box. So he's a very athletic player. So defensively and both attacking, you'd expect him to be quite influential.
Yeah, we've referred a couple of times to the experience he brings to Watford with him. He was still involved in and around the French Euro 2020 squad, of course, this past summer as well. What role do you see him playing within this Watford squad now that they are back in the Premier League and looking to find their feet to a large extent?
Well, he's very comfortable in possession of the ball, and we've already talked about how important it is to keep the ball. So you'd expect him to influence that and increase that stat. But again, it's a midfielder that you'd like to think will score goals in this division. Perhaps his stats don't suggest that he does it often enough, but certainly he's a top player. You don't get in France's international lineup without being a top player.
And no matter what he does, as we're seeing from the footage here, he never seems to be too ruffled, does he? He's always a fairly relaxed, laid-back character.
Far more relaxed than I ever was.
That's not difficult.
I can assure you. But that's a calming influence in the dressing room, maybe that's what they need at times. And if it comes from your international players, I think it's almost like, the younger players will certainly look up to him, certainly in height-wise, but they'll look up to him in what he's achieved in the game already. And, over 400 games, probably 300 in the Premier League. It's a good ratio and it's good experience in bringing that into, albeit we've been in the Premier League for many years, until last season, but the new boys we're still one of the 3 new boys in the Premier League, so that experience could be vital.
Is that a statement of intent as well from Watford as to what they see their ambitions of being this season? Yeah,
I think this year, from a footballing point of view and the transfers point of view, I think it's been a very difficult summer. So I think within the next week, I'm sure we'll see a lot more moves that we perhaps didn't think that we would see, because everything seems to be delayed. And it's just maybe one that's come up at a late stage, and the club have said, yeah, that's one we would like to do.
And it was noticeable as well, he did point to the fact that he'd spoken to Danny Rose, somebody he knows well from his time at Tottenham as well, and it seems to be that had quite an influence over the final decision.
I think that's quite a common thing. Even in my days, I mean, we just about had text messages in my day, but it's far. So
Still
it's far.
Smoke signals, wasn't it, Tommy?
You're gone too far now, Rich. No, I think it's common for players to always speak to ex-teammates or current teammates to discuss coaches, clubs, other players. It's not a surprise, and I'm sure that since Danny Rose has come to the club, he'll be impressed with certainly the training ground and all of the facilities that we have. I've already said Tottenham's is probably the best in the country for me, but Watford's is not far behind it. It's a really good setup, and because geographically it's not too far away, I think he'll be looking forward to certainly playing football in the Premier League again.
Okay, well, I can tell you the team news from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has just broken. We'll start with the home side, Tottenham Hotspur, and it's the news we all feared, because Harry Kane starts for the first time in the Premier League this season. Forget the other 10 players, that's going to be the name that gets the most attention today, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, particularly with his goals in Europe in midweek. You'd expect him to come in. Like we say, he's the most expensive striker in the world at the moment. He was always going to play for me. It's just how he fits into that system, and is he fit enough to last the game?
And when you look at the side, it's still some debate over how they might line up, but they've kept 2 clean sheets in the Premier League this season. Davinson Sanchez is going to be there. Eric Dyer has been playing at the back as well for them. And obviously, young Tanganga as well. You know a little bit about his history, don't you, in the last 18 months?
Yeah, I watched him break through into the team 18 months ago or something. He's young, he's raw. He covers the ground really quick, which helps Dyer and Sanchez in a round. But you look at the Tottenham team, you think you can get at them. But they've started with 2 clean sheets, so they've obviously organised, and what Nuno's done at the training ground is he's perhaps give them that little bit of strength of character at the back that they've maybe not had before. So 2 clean sheets says you're difficult to beat. So add that to having goal-scoring threats at the other end of the pitch, it's going to be a difficult game.
Lucas Moura is the man that seemingly makes way for Harry Kane to take his place in the starting 11. Let's look at our Watford side then for this afternoon's trip, and there are changes, 4 of them in total. Josh King comes in, Sissoko makes his Watford debut, Sierralta comes in as well, as does Juraj Kucka, making way, Kabasele, Cleverley, Sema and Loser. Noticeable that Xisco has said it was a difficult decision to drop Cleverley.
He's been such an influence last season and in the early game, certainly in the Villa game. I think Tom Cleverley's endeavour and enthusiasm, added to his undoubted talent, gives Sarr the ability to go higher up the pitch, because he knows that Tom would be on that right hand side. Sissoko coming in has got to learn that as quickly as possible. So yeah, Cleverley was captain of the team in the first 2 games. So that's a big decision to make, and obviously Kabasele going out of the team for me. Sierralta was pivotal in the success last season, but the Premier League is different and he hasn't played in it before. So Troost-Ekong and Sierralta are going to have to be on fire this afternoon.
I know you were impressed with Danny Rose's performance the other night. He starts on the bench today. It is an option if needed.
Yeah, I think so, and particularly because it's his old club. So I always scored against my old clubs. You wouldn't perhaps think that of a left back, but you never know. So I had a little feeling that he might start today, because I thought he was exceptional on Tuesday evening. But he's stuck with Messina and gone with that back four, probably Cathcart coming in as captain at right back. So for me, the biggest plus in that is Kucka coming back, because he was excellent against Aston Villa and in the last 15 minutes at Crystal Palace in pre-season. So I've probably seen him for just over 100 minutes, but he's impressed me. So I think him coming back in, probably on the left-hand side of midfield, is a big plus for the club today.
How will the boys have been in training this week? It's no disrespect to Brighton or Aston Villa, but a trip to Tottenham Hotspur, it's the first fixture against one of the Premier League big boys, if you like, this season. Yeah,
and the extra day I think helps, because the game on Tuesday night means probably they're going to train in 2 groups. This group that we're seeing here probably haven't trained together all week because of the game on Tuesday, until perhaps Friday and Saturday. So that extra day I think helps us. And you know, the manager probably knew what team he had in mind, and then Sissoko comes in, so that's probably changed it a little bit. So there'll be a bit of upheaval at the training ground, but at the end of the day they're footballers, and why wouldn't you want to go and play in Tottenham Stadium and hopefully get a good 3 points?
Yeah, as we saw from the pictures there on the training ground as well, Xisco and the players seem to be in good spirits, and you need to be relaxed for a challenge of this nature.
That's Xisco's style. He does that. He witnessed him on the training ground. He goes round and speaks to individuals, and he's very much that, trying to recreate that family ethic in the dressing room. You know, there's all sorts go on at a football club, but what's most important is how well the team is knitted together, and Xisco likes that, I know. And he'll continue to try and improve that.
Goes without saying, of course, the game plan will have already been laid down and the players will be well aware of what it is, but it's no secret to any of us, Xisco likes to be attacking in his approach to games. Can he afford to be so positive going to somewhere like Tottenham this afternoon?
I think, again, patience is going to be the key to it. When we get the ball, we've got to try and score a goal. It's as simple as that. We've got to get forward and we've got to create chances, because, you know, in King playing as the 9 today as well, perhaps not certainly not the ratio of Harry Kane in the Tottenham camp, but we've got to create as many chances as we can, because we're not going to take every chance. We don't have strikers that are prolific in taking their chances. So I think the more often that we can create chances and get Sarr in down that right hand side, because there's no left back in the Premier League that wants to play against Ismaïla Sarr when he's at full pace, which he was at home here to Aston Villa. And then Dennis in the team as well, perhaps maybe moved to the side and let King play the central role today as he did on Tuesday. So those three have got to be as influential as the front three were in the Aston Villa game, and that's a tough ask away at Tottenham.
I mean, we've focused understandably on the return of Harry Kane and Son alongside him. Tottenham haven't conceded a goal yet in the Premier League. Is there an opportunity though for Watford to get at them on the counter today?
Yes, there is, because they would like to get forward, and Kane he'll want the ball forward early. He's a little bit of a throwback in that respect, that he believes that the ball could come into a striker and then they'll play off him, and he is the focal point of that team. So when they lose possession and Watford regain it, it's going to be vital that we counter-attack like we did against Aston Villa. We didn't against Brighton because they're sat deep. So I would expect Tottenham to be trying to create opportunities for the strikers to score goals, and then midfielders want to score goals too, so they're going to get forward. So it's imperative today that the counter-attack works for us.
Okay, we've got around 50 minutes to kick off at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The goalkeepers will already be out on the pitch training and warming up. But what do you think Xisco's saying, if anything, as the final instructions to the rest of the team?
I think it'll be enjoy the game, enjoy the atmosphere, and enjoy working really hard, because the harder they work today, the luckier they'll get. It's as simple as that, and they're going to need some luck against a top team in Tottenham. But we've seen already, they haven't conceded a goal yet. How long is that going to last? It's not going to go all season, so why not make them concede today?
And look, everybody wrote Watford off outside of Watford going into the opening game of the season against Aston Villa. Watford turned the tables on that afternoon. What's your feeling about today?
Well, after that game, everybody was saying, look out, Watford are a decent side. So they need that performance. They have to have that enthusiasm and that endeavour. It's as simple as that today. It'll be in a different manner, because we won't have the amount of possession that we had against Aston Villa, but hopefully we'll have more possession than we did against Brighton, and it's what we do with it. So those players will be just delighted to be on the team sheet, I'm sure.
Are you confident enough to give us a prediction?
No.
In a word, I like that, succinct. Tommy Mooney, great to have you with us on Hive Live ahead of this afternoon's game. You'll be able to get commentary of the match via the club's website, streaming there. And then don't forget, a little later this afternoon, for highlights and first reaction to this afternoon's game, you can join us on Hive Live Extra.